Hello fellow fingerboarders, it's Chris Daniels, aka CD Play 0, and today we will be checking out the history of professional fingerboard trucks. In this video, we will cover the development of the fingerboard truck as an important component of a fingerboard setup, and explore the changes that happened over the past quarter of a century. Lastly, we will be highlighting the brands that have made a massive impact on fingerboarding, with them making the most technically difficult piece of fingerboard equipment to develop. But before we dive into the history of fingerboarding trucks, if you haven't done so already, please hit that like button and leave me a comment below on what trucks you are currently riding. First things first, I like to provide a base on fingerboard truck specific terminology. If you already know these terms, please feel free to jump ahead to the next section using the timestamps in the description below. To start off with, we have the base plate, which is the bottom layer of the truck. The base plate mounts onto the fingerboard with screws. The kingpin is a bolt that connects the base plate to the hanger. It can be attached via a kingpin nut, or it can be inverted and screwed into the nut. The hanger is a main component of the truck that the wheels are attached to. The bottom portion of the hanger sits inside of the pivot cup in the base plate, which allows it to turn. This is also the portion on which one grinds. Bushings are a piece of material that allows the turning behavior of the truck to occur. This can be made from plastic or rubber, among other materials, and shapes can be molded, or they can be O-rings, etc. The axle is what connects the wheels to the hanger. It can be either individual axles for each wheel, which I will refer to as dual axles, or extend all the way through the entirety of the hanger, which we will call single axles. Axle nuts are used to prevent the wheels from flying off the trucks. They can have a locking mechanism, which prevents loosening of these said nuts and the wheels from flying off. Washers are metal discs placed below and above bushings to ensure that the forces are evenly distributed. So let's dive in. Fingerboard trucks in the earliest times were one of a few things. First, it was whatever you had on your skateboard keychain. The second is whatever your skateboard toy had for trucks, or it could be DIY. One of the most popular DIY trucks were to take the axles out of a toy car, such as a Hot Wheels, and glue them to a fingerboard. This all changed in 1998 when X Concepts released Tech Deck, which totally revolutionized fingerboarding. The fingerboard featured trucks, which were cast into multiple pieces, consisting of a base plate with a kingpin, and a hanger that contained individual axles for each wheel. The plastic wheels rolled freely around the truck. The hanger pivoted around both the keypin, with plastic bushings controlling the softness of the turn. Almost immediately, fingerboarders began to customize these trucks. While Tech Deck did release colored versions of each truck, that did not stop fingerboarders from painting the trucks with various paints and nail polish. Later on, truck shaping became increasingly popular and was an increasing part of the professional fingerboard scene. The DIYer would use a tool such as a Dremel and file down the hanger to a specific shape. Tensor trucks were popular in those times as well, and Gary Moyer even modified a truck to include a plastic slider piece reminiscent of the Tensor truck. One common issue with Tech Deck trucks were that the nuts would regularly become loose and even fall off the truck. Prior to the use of lock nuts, fingerboarders would glue the nut to the axle or kingpin. This would prevent them from loosening unintentionally. Pro lock or Loctite was a popular component in a fingerboarder's arsenal. This thread lock glue was specifically designed for this application. By placing a little bit of Loctite into an area, the nut would stay put. However, if one did decide they needed to remove the wheel, no problem at all. They could just remove the nut with their Tech Deck tools. Another issue with Tech Deck trucks were the axles themselves. To improve the smoothness of wheels, people began experimenting with lubricating the axles. Additionally, bearing wheels were eventually developed as well. This would lead to some major development in the truck department, upon which I'll discuss later on. Lastly, the axles were usually crooked and eventually could become loose and fall out after use. One modification people would do is to replace these axles with screws that were within tuning kits instead. An example of this would be the wind pins or the X pins that were part of the Winkler Wheels package, or the tuning kit that Arctic Hardware sold. Tech Deck longboard trucks provided another major change in professional fingerboarding. This allowed fingerboard companies the ability to make even wider fingerboard decks. Fingerboard truck companies did actually exist. For example, Public Trucks in 2004. However, they really just offered custom shapes and custom painted tech deck trucks. This was about to change forever. You see, up until this point, we had not seen a widely produced fingerboard truck. The development of a mold for metal casted trucks is very expensive. The engineering required to develop a truck itself is expensive. All in all, a fingerboard truck is by far the most expensive piece of equipment to develop and manufacture. This provided a massive barrier to entry. In the summer of 2009, two revolutionary trucks were released. Y trucks, made by Yellowwood, and Blackriver trucks, made by Blackriver. There were definitely similarities. Both offered features that greatly improved the experience of riding a fingerboard. Both were precision cast, customized designs, and the best part about everything is that both trucks went a completely different design to accomplish that. Blackriver trucks took their design cue from independent trucks. The kingpin and hanger were held together by a nut, the truck utilized a single axle, and the trucks themselves were made of a high-quality material. They incorporated a realistic pivot cup and bushings optimized for Blackriver trucks. Prior to this point, people would do a DIY tuning solution or allowed their trucks to slack around where the pivot cup was. Blackriver Trucks 1.0 did not have lock nuts included. Instead, it recommended to use a nut guard or Loctite product to secure the nut to the axle and kingpin, effectively making a lock nut. The axles were also much shorter than the tech deck axles, which was actually intentional. This eliminated the need for backless wheels with washers, which was something that was super common back in the day. This did have the effect of making them basically unusable with dual bearing wheels. The interesting part during this time is that there was no standardization of bearing wheels, so trucks like BRT focused on a specific type of wheel, which were the Blackriver Edition Winkler wheels specifically developed for the Blackriver Truck 1.0s. Older wheels could be used by gluing the bearings into the wheels themselves, which usually made them usable within the trucks. However, in the end, wheel companies adapt to this change really quickly and standardize their offerings by offering Blackriver Edition wheels. In 2010, Blackriver released the 2.0 trucks, which featured the lock nuts and 7 different colors for the hangers and some design optimizations. In 2022, Blackriver released the 3.0 truck, which featured reinforced steel axles, strengthened lock nuts, a thicker reinforced base plate, and had a embossed Blackriver skull at the end of the base plate. These were available in 29, 32, and 34 millimeters. Y trucks innovated as well, with the most noticeable difference between them and Blackriver being the inverted kingpin, which allowed the hanger to have more clearance over the kingpin, leading to a smoother grind. The kingpin also utilized a Torx head to prevent the wear of Allen keys compared to a traditional key. Additionally, unlike Blackriver trucks, the length of their single axles did allow both dual and single bearing options. They also were the first to utilize an anti-loose nut system, aka lock nuts, and their bushings were made of Viton, which is a material used in aerospace and automotive use cases. When compared side by side, it was clear that each innovator took a different approach to solving the issues that plagued fingerboarders up until this point, massively improving fingerboarding while both looking aesthetically beautiful in their own way. I find that fingerboarders really don't understand the impact that the release of Blackriver Truck 1.0 and Y Trucks Stage 1 had. Until this point, your professional trucks were just shaped, painted tech deck trucks with an assortment of tuning modifications. Blackriver and Yellowwood unlocked the final piece of that puzzle. It was in the summer of 2009 that a fingerboarder could finally have a 100% professional caliber fingerboard setup, which was over 10 years after tech deck was released. Y Trucks followed the Stage 1 by releasing the Stage 2 and Stage 3 in 2010. Later iterations of Y Trucks followed with the Stage 4, and the most recent release, the Stage 5, which offered 29mm, 32mm, and 34mm truck options. Woodywood Fvcker trucks, later renamed Undead Fvcker truck, were out of Indonesia back in 2011, I believe. They had the goal of offering a more affordable professional fingerboard trucks. These trucks are cast and shaped by hand. As you can tell from the video, since they were shaped by hand, there was some fun creative options that could be had, like the one that's on the screen right now. Shout out to them. 2KR, which was founded in 2013 out of Slovakia, released trucks at least as early as 2015. Not 100% sure, but most likely even earlier than that. Another brand focused on providing quality fingerboard trucks at a more affordable price, 2KR trucks proved to be a popular option for fingerboarders. In late 2015, Scott Beastbohr released the dynamic 3D printed fingerboard truck, marking the first 3D printed professional fingerboard truck on the market. 32mm in width, the 3D printed metal trucks were most likely the first of its kind. Unfortunately, it proved to be unfeasible to continue printing those metal trucks and were phased out in 2016. Later, Dynamic revamped their design and manufacturing process. They offered their standard trucks, which featured an inverted kingpin, and also have a special edition truck, which featured a lock nut kingpin. One important highlight is that the Dynamic trucks might have been the first to feature pre-threaded baseplate holes. Caramel Fingerboards, which is out of Spain, I believe began offering fingerboarding trucks back in 2020, could be earlier. Their trucks feature an inverted kingpin and can be used with both single and dual bearing wheels. One note is that Caramel offers the ability to purchase customized sizes, even sizes that are outlandish proportions. It's amazing how big some of these trucks can get. UAG was founded in 2019 in Japan. In 2021, UAG developed their first truck, the A-frame original truck. These trucks were the first to feature that iconic A-frame hanger shape. Later on, UAG released the A-frame V2 shape. This featured that unique hanger design and came in 33.5mm. UAG trucks also come with a standard lock nut kingpin. Vortex trucks, created in Australia with the goal of bridging the gap for affordable professional fingerboard trucks, launched probably in 2020. V2 comes standard with an inverted kingpin. V3 offers an adaptable base plate, allowing both standard kingpin and inverted kingpin options. They come in 32mm and 34mm sizes. SB trucks are out of Poland and utilize a standard lock nut kingpin, offering a uniquely shaped base plate that has kind of curved rounded edges and custom urethane bushings. They can be had in 33mm. The most recent addition to the Pro Fingerboard truck mix is Obsius, which were released in 2022. There are other trucks out there, specifically ones manufactured in China. I will not touch on those that are replicas of other trucks. I don't condone IP theft, and I will not give it any time on my channel. Now, Eureka trucks are a truck manufactured out of China and do have a unique design. They offer an inverted kingpin and come in sizes of 32mm, which are the Eureka 1s, and 34mm, which are the Eureka 2s. They are also among the least expensive, unique professional fingerboard design out there. We've seen the massive progression in the development of pro fingerboard trucks. In the past, either stock or modified tech deck trucks were really the only option for pro fingerboarders to ride. That all changed in 2009 with the release of both Blackriver trucks and white trucks, which were the most important development of any fingerboard product in my mind. It led to the standardization of bearing wheel design and massively improved the quality of a fingerboard setup. We are truly in a golden age of fingerboarding. There are more options than ever before for a high-quality professional fingerboard trucks. There are also a ton of entry-level fingerboard trucks options out there that I did not discuss in this video that are even more affordable. Thank you for watching this video on the history of professional fingerboard trucks. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, share this video with your friends. Let me know what trucks you are currently rocking in the comments below. As I mentioned before, I'm really interested in seeing what you all ride. If you like this content, please hit that subscribe button. You can also check out my History of Fingerboarding playlist, which features 16 videos containing over 3 hours of content on fingerboard history. Again, fingerboard and have fun, my friends. I'm Chris Daniels, and I hope you all have a great day.